folks. Oh shit, J-Post. First! Sorry, I was doing hey-ho promo. Wait, no, I could definitely phrase that better. Dustin, Watto, and welcome. Angel Kalina, Yeti, Twiz. Come on in, friends, come on in. Oh! And with J-Post glancing that, J-Post is now out in front. If you can hold on to that for tomorrow. Oh. Yeah, I know, Phyllis, your cat's told me. Okay. Just deploying my various Okay, here we go. All right, Jamami, DJ Coil, Watto and welcome. Legend, good to see you. I have slept. I have pondered. We went out and got a lovely coffee today. Little Fire would not disco boogie dance with me in the coffee shop.
You wanted me to do it for free. Do it for free?
Legend says hi.
Hi.
All right, friendos. And a happy New Year's Eve to you as well, Dustin. It's looking like we will be streaming tomorrow in some capacity. We haven't decided what yet, but we've got bubbly to pop. We've got a ton of food to make. It's gonna be real good. DJ Coil says, no one tells you when you decide to clean your roof that it will be very hard work and your legs will be destroyed when you're done. It's weird no one tells you that. They really should. Okay. I hope you all are locked and loaded for conversation, because boy howdy. See, what did I tell you? What did I tell you? I have to make sure that the bubbly does not hit the ceiling on the walls, because I will never hear the end of it. Yeah. Anyway, how are you lot doing? We've got a little bit before everybody gets in. It's game club night, so we're going to be talking about Recall. And you know what? It will not be boring. I have often said the worst thing a game can be is dull. Ooh, Dustin has night eggs. Is that a condition or a snack? Yes. Bacon, yeah, I still haven't finished hearing the end of it the first time round. Yeah, Jamami, tomorrow is New Year's Eve. So yeah, I got so many feelings about Recall. Got so many feelings about Recall, and I'm looking forward to talking about them. Because I think I do not regret us playing it. I don't regret playing through it. Oh, no, sorry, I don't regret playing it. I do regret playing through it. I wish I I wish I had finished chapter 3 and then never come back. But we're gonna go for that one. Well, okay, so Favor 6. One of the CD Projekt Red co-founders has purchased GOG away from CD Projekt Red, so it is now an independent entity. So GOG didn't get sold. GOG has been, well, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing yet, but GOG is now a wholly owned operation, not publicly traded or anything like that. It did get very late game preachy. It did. And yeah, Moose, I think that's a really good point. Recall is worth discussing because of how hard it falls over. Like Bam Margera's career, it starts off so strong. So strong. But yeah, so the GOG news as it currently stands is good. Like, it's now an independent entity, and in theory, it still has they still have an operating agreement with, they still have an operating agreement with CD Projekt Red, so it's not like it's a split or anything like that. I am here to remind you. Twiz, you're welcome. But I want to give everybody a chance to get on in. If any of you want to get drinks and snacks, so let's say we'll get into the proper banter in about like 10-15 minutes time. Like, I put out all the calls. I don't know if the game club is shouting about us or re-skeeting or what have you. But and I did read some interviews with the dev, which gave me a little bit of an understanding of where they're coming from, but there's also a lot of things. There's a lot of things that Recall does and gets into that I have more issue with because I paid more attention to it. Ah, yes, Haggard, which I believe was the CKY crew's first attempt at a motion picture event. Oh, yeah. I'm not just a historian of weird games industry knowledge and indie video what's-its. I was a Jackass fan. At one point, I knew most of the words to Skeletor versus Beastman, which I am not proud of. Anyway, you lovely lot. If you need snacks and drinks and what have you, now is the time. Because we're going to be getting into the paint on this one. Whilst everybody's getting snacks and bevies, I guess the other news was Rainbow Six Siege got hacked bad. Everybody's data, plus apparently the source code for Rainbow Six Siege is out there. Poor buggers. Like, Rainbow Six Siege is not a game that I personally enjoy, but I mean, the source code's out. That game is going to be riddled. The people who enjoy it are going to have a miserable time, and the people working on it are now probably having to work, like, super hard all over Christmas. You know? The 96 quite bitter beings now share the same retirement home. The ones who made it, there's only about like 40 of them left. downtime for Rainbow Seven Siege. God. I mean, it is still wild to me that when you look at what Rainbow Six was, a real-time strategy tactics game, and what Rainbow Six has become, I find it fascinating. But yes, Jamami, there's a non-zero chance that that's going to put Rainbow Six Siege down. Because, like, battling against hacks is one thing, but when the source code is out, like, the way in which people can then manipulate the title. Yeah, so Chornerus, the only thing I've seen sourced is they got the source code for Rainbow Six Siege. How badly ransacked they've been, we don't know. But, you know, Ubisoft's not my mate, but I don't wish them that level of, like, holiday season fuckery. Yeah, good old Red Storm. And behind me, Jess is playing her run-through of Sons of the Forest. Because I can't see it, so she can have a run around, no worries. It sounds like you just got sucker punched to death.
Yeah, by a creature you haven't seen yet.
Oh, good. Oh, good. So yeah. So yeah, we've got a good like 10 minutes or so before we get into Game Club proper. I kind of look at it like if we were doing this as a physical event, you know, everybody's got to get to the venue, go buy a pint, you know, order any drinks or snacks or what have you before we get into it proper. But yeah, it is that thing of like, if there's any news around this time of year, it's very seldom good. You know, it's nice to hear that, you know, GOG might be even more independent and might be even more safe. But like, the news sites are so desperate for clicks right now that former GTA director commenting on Larian moving away from Baldur's Gate gets covered on every site. Yeah, of course it's smart that they didn't do someone else's IP and just keep doing that. Oh, I think, wasn't it like a Snow Fox? It was like a 2D side scroller one. There's like 3 games like that are all stuck in my... I can't remember. And sorry, friends, I realised I just went into space there. You're all hanging out, and there's me staring off into the middle distance. I am so sorry. Oh yes, I was just was rechecking the hot sheets to see if there was anything else that has really dropped. Steam have done their top sellers of 2025 list, but nothing really super surprising. And frankly, a few on the revenue generators of 2025 are a little bit disheartening. So I'm just not gonna look at them. We'd have to talk about them right now. Besides, there's still 2 days left. Who knows what could happen? Ooh. Okay. Uh-oh.
Breaking news, ribbon cutting ceremony underway for husband and wife ex-newscasters that opened a local bed and breakfast called This Just In.
That was a long walk for a short glass of water there, Dustin. Fucking hell. Thank you for the bits, mate. Did you find it?
No. Yeah, I did, but that's not why I...
Oh, what was the name of it?
Dog walk.
Just Dog Walk? Oh, yes, but the fluffy art style. Oh, if you want to check out Dog Walk, it's free. I believe we played it a couple weeks back. It's a bit of fun. Yeah, it's the Blender in-house studio game. It just looked gorgeous. Weird. Dog Walk was my nickname in college. Ah. Okay. Okay. All right. 2-3 more minutes, and then let's open up this Mamma Jamma.
Why would you tell me
So glad I'm not formally writing reviews for this sucker. Okay. So whilst we're getting started, if in some strange and bizarre way you haven't heard me talk about the game club stuff yet, here's the pitch. Book club for games. Every month, you get a game, play it, and then we all get together and talk about it. If you want to, you can look up an actual physical meet in your local area. There may be one, or you could start one. But we're going to be doing it predominantly on stream. So we do a stream where we play the game, and we do a separate stream where we talk about it. This is the talking stream. I'm hoping in the future to bring more folks in, so it's not just me and Little Fire. What? It's what a... You have to listen to me talk about this stuff so much. You've had to listen to me talk about it at multiple points throughout this playthrough. And I can still remember with a painful clarity my naivete around Recall before I played like the last 3 segments. Boy, howdy. Boy, howdy. Oh. So far, the game club has been 24 killers, and this month was Recall. If you'd like to join in for January, sign up now. You'll get the game beginning of January. You can play it through at your leisure. But for those of you who aren't members of the game club and what ho, like, don't worry about it. Just join in on the chat. You all have seen as much as I have. Yeah, you know what, Yeti, that's fair, but we'll get into that. Like, I'm trying not to go off prematurely.
Reactor online, sensors online, weapons online, all
That's
systems
what caused you to get your full year? Yeah. So you've been You've been Longshippy inside now for a whole year.
Wow. That explains so many things.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can get like a tax credit. You know, like one of those like care in the community ones.
It should automatically pair you with what was it? What's that therapy app? BetterHelp?
Yeah. Wow, it'll fire a whole year. That's awesome. Blink twice if you need help.
Damn it. Lost that thing.
You see, you need a Verdant to message you and be like, save it now. No! And whoever it was who just gifted a sub to Dustin, that's really cool of you. Thank you. Twiz says you need to get some dollar bills and throw them at Will next month. Maybe a little song about making it rain. And J Post, thanks for the tiny bit. But anyway, so friends, if you want to sign up for the game club and you want to join in for January, do it now. But if not, don't worry about it, you know? I am not told what the games are ahead of time. And they haven't started hinting at what is going to be for next month. You won't get billed until January as well, that's also. But
It's on the first.
yeah.
They did post stop this time.
Ooh. Have a look at that. So I had a look, but I must have missed it. Interesting. Crafty. Yeah, sorry. Let me show you all. This is the blue sky hint for the next stream if you want to try and guess it. Yeah, this stream is sponsored by BetterHelp. When you want to have your psychological details sold to a third-party advertiser. BetterHelp. Don't trust them with shit. Mm-hmm. If you got cash for BetterHelp, I don't know, take up Warhammer or something.
Yeah, something else.
It'll do the same amount for your mental health, but at least you have some tiny miniatures at the end of it. Okay, so it's 1:15. So Twiz, I don't. When I spoke to Guy about setting this up, I was very adamant that I asked them specifically not to select any games involving AI. Or hang on, let me phrase this a little better. I spoke to Guy and I was like, please don't, and he's like, don't worry about it. They haven't got an official stance on AI games yet. But I do not think it's something that we have to worry about. And if they change their stance, then we leave. And we'll do it very publicly. You know. Okay. Hang on, let me pause this. I'm gonna put this on with audio. Because let's set the scene. So, this month's game was Recall. The description being, memories are malleable and changing them will modify the present. Tackle mind-bending puzzles that rely on altering your own recollections to shape the future. When I initially saw the pitch for Recall, I thought we were going to be dealing with a time-looping game. But, well, at least for a brief period, I thought it was something better, something more. It has this Pokemon Advanced overworld movement. This kind of fascinating cast. And initially, in the first early levels, it plays like you retell your recollections of events and you change the details, which changes actually what happened. You reconfigure reality. And yeah. I mean, ultimately the story is about this character, Bruno Gallagher, who will not be the first throwaway music reference and nor the last. He somehow inherits this power that allows him to change reality as he retells these stories. With the first main puzzle being the murder of one of your neighbor's dads. Hang on. During the murder, you are able to change where you remember hearing the shot, where you, how many bullets were fired, what the killer did, and things like that. And you repeat the story until you're able to find out who did it and get away alive. During the first proper mystery, not the tutorial at the beginning, which was very funny, during the actual first proper chapter, you are asked if you went to the party by yourself or if you went alone. And you joke and say, no, I was totally there with someone. And in doing so, you, at the time, we thought, bring into existence a whole character, Harry Ocean, who has been your best friend forever. At least that's how he and everyone else remembers it. Everyone else remembers that Harry Ocean has been your best friend for as long as you can remember. You don't, because you changed reality. And for a lot of us there, that was the point where I thought this game had the spark. And as we were saying earlier, if you only played the first 3 chapters of Recall, holy crap, what a game. Holy crap, what a game. And look, I'm not trying to like fucking bean the conversation with a brick, but let's be honest. Every chapter after that undermines everything that came before. Both like within the mechanics of the system, within the title itself, and I'm still mad about that. You know, ultimately, Harry Ocean isn't a person you brought into reality through fibbing to the cops. No, he's a ghost from a government assassination agency that was put through a giant spider machine. Cool! That's so much better! Sorry, I'm just seeing if our, Yeah, why was the machine a giant spider? Oh, because it's stealing all the powers of Happy Havoc, a psychic super soldier team. A government psychic super soldier team used for spying and murder. And then when Holy Gunman broke the machine, the power of the ghosts came into him. Whereas up until that point, it was heavily implied that the quote-unquote ghosts was us. That, like, what Bruno had been given was essentially the power of, like, you know, like a meta-narrative power. That we were that we, as the player, were not just controlling things, but rewriting them. And no. Initially, I'd wanted to play through the whole game in one sitting, and then Chapter 4 was a mandatory stealth section, where you played as the guy who is the villain, where it turns out that he's not a villain, he was a cop, who found out that this world's version of All Might, the super cop, was actually a diddler. So he beats him to death with his bare hands. But then he's a bad guy after that because of reasons. Now, one of the things that I noticed from a review of this was the dev saying that they actually built all the different kind of mechanics of this kind of separate and tried to pull them together. And it definitely shows. But much like Bioshock Infinite, you kind of have to be careful how you smash your references together, because you can ultimately not only fuck your own narrative, but, you know, maybe say some weird, gross things. So, it's a really hard game to talk about, because up until that point, holy crap, reconfiguring all the events of the past and shaping the outcome was so cool. Yeah, and Fearless, I think so. I think that the Game Boy Advance Pokemon visual style did end up hamstringing a lot of like concepts, but yeah, the giant mechanical spider was probably something that was created separate of everything else. But like, yeah, I cannot state again how up until that point, you're playing as Bruno. Bruno is a regular guy. You know, the middle section, which feels like such a tonal whiplash, where Bruno talks about, you know, being bullied at school for his weight. And like, in another indie title, especially if that section had come after the school segment, like maybe that could have landed. But that happens after Harry Ocean, you're, you know, the friend you invented out of nothingness. Just kidding, he's a cop. Sorry, no, he's a government assassin's soul. He's just been killed. At that point, from Bruno's perspective, the friend he invented has been killed due to the mystery he became embroiled in. I mean, the final segment, like, we should structure this, because otherwise I'm going to start sketching out. Okay, so if we talk about the beginning, we talk about the first beginning chapters. Should have prepared some video slides or something. You know what, I'll just quickly reinstall it, it'll only take a second. Because there's the chapter select, so we can have a little fuck around on it. Yeah, Orchazini, after or during the school section would have been a great time. There was also the thing of like, when you start up, you've got, you know, the blonde rich guy who you and him kind of hate each other. During the school segment, you find out that the reason why he kind of hates you is because you were both being bullied, and at one point, one of your would-be bullies starts beating him up. He asks you for help, and your little character runs away because he's a fucking child. But that kind of guilt that your character, Bruno, is harboring, and Lucas's like resentment of that moment makes sense. Now, jumping back into chat, because again, please, friends, throw in your thoughts and feels. This is not just me ranting, as much as I therapeutically need it. Wait. So yes, if we go, so chapter select. So chapter 1 was the tutorial where we're playing as the guy who will end up being the villain for some fucking reason. You play as ex-cop turned, I guess, Punisher type vengeance master, sneaking into a Super Sentai protected drug lab to kill the toy maker. Because, well, he's a fucking drug dealer. You know, I'm not here to judge anybody by their terms, but he's not the good hero bloke. Chapter 2 is the party, where you're really just let loose. And this was the point at which the game absolutely fucking shine. You know? sorry, jumping back in, Yeti says it takes the dev planned out up until chapter 3 and the final betrayal, then hit a creative wall. That does feel that way. And this is one of the reasons why I like chatting through this with all of you lot, is we are gleaning both the intent of the author and talking about what we experienced. Because again, like, Half-Baked from chapter 4 onwards definitely hits. There's lots of this that's so shallow. The musical references, the naming conventions, etc. It all feels extremely shallow. And the pisser is that those first 3 chapters are so good. So there's this spark, there's this brilliance, and then there's just this descent. So, okay. Oh yeah, no, Jamami, this game absolutely needed a kill your darlings moment. If you didn't see the stream from yesterday... sorry. Fearless was talking about like the visual concepts. Yeti, Vershi was just adding, we're going to find out that the dude who made Wild Wild West was somehow involved. Yeah. Fun fact, the mechanical designs for Wild Wild West existed before the film. They were going to be a different movie. Wiggy Wah. Wiggy Wah Wild West. Jim West. Desperado. Rough Rider. No. You don't want nada. Oh. Vertman says, did anyone else feel the chibi sprites and the portraits didn't quite mesh? Yes. I mean, I'll forgive that because that's a good shorthand that users understand for making a lot of game quickly, but... yeah, underbaked... I mean, Favor 6, you know, I'm still talking about Wild Wild West. But you know what no one talks about? The Burger King crossover that gave you Jim West's shades from the major motion picture Wild Wild West. All those weird little, like, glasses. They're like hard plastic see-through, look like glass from, which one was it? Is it Batman Forever with Jim Carrey and... because it was Batman. Batman Returns. Batman. Anyway, yeah. The Good China. Yeah, Verdun. We had the Riddler one. Anyway, jumping back. Chapter 2 of this game was so good. And do you know what's wild is just how much of the other parts of this... you know what? I'm just gonna... sure. I'm just gonna fuck around with it. Also, one of the things that annoys me is that the shadow on the wall and the loading screen is an oxymoron that doesn't come from the game, but yeah. So Yeti says, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that in chapter 1 he wasn't doing anything Punisher style. He knew, they knew each other and working together. Okay. Can argue that Dom the antagonist knew the toy maker would protect his niece and nephews, who Dom wanted to use for their powers. Yeah, but we also know that the nephew didn't have any powers. It was just the mask. Because... fucking hell. Because we now know from the fucking ending that these magical powers is not a great meta-narrative conceit or anything interesting. Like, Dom... right now, Bruno is possessed by a bunch of cop ghosts. Super soldier cop ghosts. Yeah, Simple Chaos, that was the thing. We found out in the end that there were 2 kinds of psychic powers in this universe. Givers and growers. And the character that was telling this was definitely a grower. Like, fucking hell. No one was consulted on this? But that also implies that the nephew was using the mask of the previous super cop asshole, resulting in him having the power to do like the speed dash or what have you. You're right, Yeti. Trying to give logic to the story is an exercise in futility. But the thing is, the Red Strings Club did a very similar thing in that... Oh, and Caffeine, what's unwelcome. The Red Strings Club had different styles of gameplay throughout its 3 segments, right? And ultimately, fucking landed it. They were able to connect those pieces... Like... Okay, sorry, let me jump back into what you all were saying. DJ Coyle said that the gameplay wasn't robust enough to support the narrative. Dev constraints forced compromises in the story. Story wasn't quite as fleshed out as it could have been. I would definitely say their choice of going for this, like, GBA RPG Maker style, and then the later focus on, like, puzzles and swapping between characters really ground gears. It worked much better for the explore, discover, and then rejig the timeline. Chorus was saying, for context, for those of you who didn't see it, the ridicule aimed was that the guy who was telling us about being a grower was holding a giant gun and desperately attempting to flirt with the one female character on his team. Like, it was dick joke par extraordinaire. Huh. Actually, Quasi, that's a good point. The old lady, I think we can... Hang on, if I go find my keys, I forget what they are in this. Like, we can go talk to the old lady. It's here. She does mention... Oh, yeah. She does mention that, you know, she knows your little friends are there. Fuck you, mate. Right, there we go. Hey, boys. Who's your new friend, Bruno? I'm by myself, Mrs. Sky. My eyesight gets rustier with each passing day. It's where I saw you accompanied. Ha ha ha. So yeah, so she knows that you've got the fucking ghosts there. Oh, she's just... Yeah. But yeah, so like, the thing is, a game, it doesn't have to have a story. It can just be a game. Like, that's not a requirement. We're not critiquing this in the sense of like, oh, games must be great literature and fine art at all times. I'm critiquing this with the context that we are set. Like, chapters 1, 2, and 3 fucking slap. And if you just stop playing there, this is a masterwork. And then every chapter after that undermines and destroys the brilliance of the first 3 chapters. You know? Yeah, Orchardini, she sees Harry at least. The existence of Harry Ocean, that's the big one. And I think that's the bit where I start feeling the most kind of betrayed. Not to be a fucking drama queen about this, or any kind of dramatical monarch, but I was a drama major, thank you. But the existence of Harry Ocean was so powerful. That was the whoa moment. And if you weren't there last night, I basically kind of compared the later chapters to like the Highlander 2 moment. Yeah, the ghosts were created when Laz broke the machine, and it was full of D7 power agent souls, and their collective sense went into him. Fuck off. Intro Throw, I don't hate the game, right? You know, I don't hate the Highlander series. I just think that... So, the Highlander 2 draw was something that Fred, or Marketeer Fred, as most of you know, introduced me to. And the Highlander 2 draw is this idea of canonical works that undermine themselves by existing.
Stop that incessant clicking.
Aw, and whoever gifted a sub to Intrafro, that's very kind of you. So, in Highlander, there can be only one. All of the immortals are spread across the land. No one knows why they're immortals or where they came from, only that they have this inconceivable pull to each other. That they will do battle until there is only one, and that with each death, the quickening becomes stronger within them. And, you know, ultimately this force of good and evil fights in a dramatic sword battle with a banging soundtrack by Queen, and eventually our own, you know, Connor MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod inherits all of the power. He is the last one standing. And it's kind of implied that, you know, the things he was denied, i.e. a normal life. Just kidding. It turns out that him and his mates and everybody were intergalactic freedom fighters who fought against a galactic evil, but were sent to Earth jail as immortals to kill each other and then absorb the quickening so they could be harvested later. What Highlander 2 does narratively is undermine the things that made the first one better. Right? Highlander 2 didn't make me hate the Highlander, but it annoyed... It breaks its own nonsense. The second half of Recall destroys the brilliance of the first half. Well, no, so Twizzlight, and that's the joke, because you put Highlander 2 in the Highlander drawer, and then we never talk about it. I think the current release of Highlander 2... Well, so Hoffers, there are two cuts. But yeah. Midichlorians also have often been put in the Highlander drawer. However, the later Star Wars works have kind of retconned midichlorians a bit as well. You know, the first Highlander movie provided there can be only one good movie. If you just play the first 3 chapters of this is fucking brilliant. Because, like, the idea that you can change your story, that you can change how you remember things, and that changes the very fabric of reality. Holy crap, like, that puts Life is Strange to shame in terms of, like, you know, narrative fuckery. And when you say, oh no, I went to the party with a friend, and that friend suddenly exists. Holy shit. Holy shit. But no, just kidding. That wasn't what you did at all. Harry Ocean existed the whole time, and he was a D7 Happy Havoc assassin. Cool. That's just orc logic. Orc logic is it works because you believe it is. You can't orc a person into existence. But you can make someone bigger. Yeah. Well, has Yarrick come back? The ultimate DM's tool is what you say is true. I mean, fair. But from the perspective of, like, a meta-narrative, it works so well because, you know, the player is always this weird blend of the last to know, but also the most informed. Bless you. And the fact that this game then later on goes on to great lengths to explain that, like, no, it's not anything special. It was, sci-fi, My Hero Academia level super cops doing super cop stuff. All right, great, brilliant. Dominic's whole arc to becoming a super villain makes no sense. There's no connective tissue in it. Now, so Dominic wanting to reclaim the power makes sense. Dominic wanting to use it to redraw the world so that no one is ever sad, because you can never remember bad things, thus everyone is selfless. Where the fuck did that come from? Sorry. When is it time to start drinking?
It's not even 6.
It's not even 6. God. I don't want to be hungover on New Year's Eve. And that's what makes this all so difficult, right? It's the narrative not set forth by our impressions of it. It's the narrative as it is presented to us. Now, it doesn't help that the back half also adds mechanics that are kind of counterintuitive to... I shouldn't say counterintuitive, but are counter to the experience up until that point. Yup. Well, also, I mean, we shouldn't even really be in the My Hero Academia comparison area, but that's where this game took it. The two major villains in My Hero, one sees society and its would-be do-gooders as nothing more than a fallacy, and one sees them as a resource to be stolen from and exploited. Intro, no. Come on, it's not that all storylines should be vetted, right? Creatives are free to take their story in any which direction. It's just the front half of this story and the back half of this are so drastically different that even a moment when Bruno goes into his own past of being bullied in school, it rings hollow because it's bookended by cops going into a Super Sentai villain hideout in a mandatory stealth section, and then surprise, it's the Happy Havoc Super Squad. Almus, you pulled the right maneuver. Yeah, and Yeti, that's the thing. The chapters feel disconnected. Well, and the thing was, Alnus, Simple Chaos, I felt guilty because I was only able to finish, the first 4 chapters. And I felt bad about that, because, I wanted to try and do it in one sitting so that the game had good pacing and whatnot. But there's... yeah. We're dealing with the game... So all Zine was saying, what I think we're supposed to read into Dominic's arc is that because he had a taste for blood and was betrayed by what he idolized as a truly lawful person, he was supposed to change right over into villain. It's not a good arch, nah. And the thing was, at least as it ended on that beat, I was like, well, okay, Dominic makes sense now that, he idolized this, caricature of a masked hero cop. And then he found out that guy was a fucking diddler and beat him to death with his fists. You know, deciding that, you know, justice could not be carried out within a corrupted system. You know, that then twins with the early thing of him killing Mr. Druglord. Yeah. But then again, like, his pontifications in the last section could only be read charitably if he was just straight lying to Bruno to get the powers. But also, like, oh, I just moved into this place. Watch out for that electrified water. And the, oh, this music, don't you like it? It's called lo-fi. Homie, I get it. You didn't have enough time to finish your ending, but seriously. And yeah, I mean, DJ Coyle, Moose said it at the beginning, which is why this game is so deserved of discussion. If it feels like I'm hating on it, if it feels like I've got more vitriol in my banter, it's because if we'd stopped at 3, it was such a high. I was comparing it to Soma in that, like, existentialism of, like, you are, like, if you suddenly lied a person into existence, and that is all their, you know, the family that brought them into this world, all their history, all their interactions. You know, you just casually said, like, no, I went to the coffee shop with Dave Music Reference. And now Dave Music Reference exists, has always existed, and has always been your friend, and knows everybody, and you're the only person that knows the Dave Music.
Sumak for giving it a positive review.
Yeah. Avershi, thank you for the bit. Like, the existentialism of, like, being the only person who knows that someone doesn't truly exist, because from their perspective, they've always existed. Like, holy shit, that's a good jumping off point. You know? And Harry Ocean being the ideal of the perfect friend as well. I think that would have worked far better, especially with the mid-arc of Bruno's... I'm gonna... Oh, this, by the way, this makes no sense here. I'm not here to critique screens and what have you, you know, but that little, like, that screen there makes no sense. But anyway, all of those early elements, plus the idea that, you know, Bruno's still kind of struggling with this... Bruno's still struggling with, you know, the trauma of being a bullied child. You know, that's a very real thing. And I was reading a review on IGN that contained some interviews. Shout out again to Reb, one of the few good folks still kicking it at IGN. And the creator was saying that, like, one of the things that he likes about this is whenever people say that the story of Bruno resonated with them. And I get that. But the other elements that it's sandwiched in, you know, it's not like... You can tell a very personal story in a very bombastic setting. In fact, that's a really good style of storytelling, in my humble opinion. That's it. Visible's your friend. But yeah, so Harry comes round and he's like, you know, best as homies. He shows up with beer because he knows you're having a hard time. Actually, I'll get rid of that so I don't do a slurp. And it just sucks that one of the best things about this, which was the idea of, like, you know, powers with consequence, turns out to be, just kidding, Harry's actually, he used to be an assassin super cop whose soul and memories got sucked out by a giant spider and spat into a bloke who talks about his grower all the time. Like, come on! And it also, again, it doesn't help that when the shift happens in gameplay style from rearranging memories to solve puzzles to being this, like, you know, stealth, this 2D stealth, you know, color matching switch puzzle thing. Like, well, intro, that's where this game was really shining, because that's a good question. If you create a person by lying them into existence, how do you even regard them? Are they just a sim to you? Are they a real person? Is it based on how other people regard them? Like, now you're onto a real fucking banger of a conversation, right? Yeah, Yeti, Maze Explorer. But it also means that when Bruno asks Harry, where did you come from? And Harry goes, from home. And just dodges this stuff. This isn't the solidification of your powers having an effect on reality. This is just Harry just straight up lying to you. He's like, yeah, you don't seem to be pretending. You truly believe you are an old friend of mine, huh? Am I not? DJ Coyle was saying that while watching Adam Atomic work on a puzzle game today, he said something that really landed. If all else fails with novel mechanics, we always have a block pushing puzzle to fall back on. Harry Ocean is nearly as cool as Danny Ocean. Yeah, see, this bit here, where Harry's like, I'm just trying to digest the fact that my best friend has apparently forgotten me. He's just fucking lying to us. And this is where the Highlander 2 draw kind of comes in. If this game was only the first 3 chapters and nothing more, this would be a masterpiece. Yeah. He's trying to Mandela us, and it's not working. Yeah, Orzine, it does feel like 2 different things. Now, sorry, the thing I was going to mention from the IGN review was, again, the dev talking about how... Oh, excuse you. Okay, sorry, bear with me a second. The dev talking about how... they created lots of different gameplay mechanics, and their idea... okay. Sorry, there's someone in the Game Club Discord asking me a question. I'm like, come to the stream! That's why I'm here! Intro, the thing is, we could have that conversation, except for we are definitively told who Harry Ocean is, where he came from, and why he's involved with the ghost. Because up until this point, like, I honestly thought we were going to be coming into something that was more like a personal, emotional narrative similar to One Shot, but on a more personal level, you know what I mean? If you've never played it, I highly recommend One Shot. It is a game that acknowledges that you exist, and your interactions between yourself and the main character are kind of the crux of it. You know. Oh, thank you. I was just moving out of the way so I didn't...
Yeah, you're putting it over here, and I know you're just like...
Yeah, Simple Chaos has had the great option of going, you can rewrite your trauma. And honestly, again, I thought... if... Because chapter 3, you go back to your old school and you see some little bits of Bruno, our character, getting bullied. And ultimately, it kind of culminates in this situation where Bruno goes back into his memories and meets his younger self. And he's like giving his younger self a whole bunch of shit for being bullied. And his younger self's like, why do you care? You know, you can be nice to them. If they don't like you, fuck them. You know, I know I'm paraphrasing here, but like that, I think that was really sweet that, you know, a younger version of yourself could look at it all and be like, you know, they're assholes, but whatever. And yeah, Alnus, taking this as an anthology, 2 different stories, separate but united themes could work. Could? I mean, again, the Harry Ocean problem is where this really grinds my fucking gears. Sorry. And Minnesota, that's possibly a good point. Like, if we're talking about, like, artist's intention, you know, perhaps the dev didn't understand that they'd hit upon such a good beat. You know, a story of trauma and bullying and things like that, and how creating Harry as the perfect friend, and how Bruno, who feels like he doesn't have a lot of close
Stop that
friends.
incessant
Hey.
clicking.
All right, you spooky ghost hunter. I can thank you. How Harry is this, like, is the perfect idea of, like, the best friend. And from Harry's perspective, they've always been buddies, but from Bruno's, he's only just existed. So Bruno's not had that feeling of support. I don't know, there's something really interesting there, you know. There's a discussion of healing past trauma, tripping over my own words. And you know. But yeah, we didn't need a league of superhero villains and chaos, and we didn't need it explained to us who Harry and these powers were. And yeah, Orzine, from a development standpoint, this is one of the situations where, like, a trusted friend or someone to work with the creative on this, telling them that no, you found your path, you need to get that. How about healing pasta? That was Little Fire made chicken Alfredo last night. That was healing pasta. That was the good shit. So yeah, it is a good example of a game without a solid GDD. You know, the whole thing of, like, you know, while no plan survives first contact with the enemy, the lack of it can throw you asunder. Ultrazini says, I found from a story point of view, don't explain the superpower, right? I mean, DJ Coyle, they didn't pay their debts. Everybody hated them.
See, it's proof he baconizes people.
I do not!
He baconizes people, it's proof.
You guys are jerks! So yeah. And just, again, like, coming back to it, like, there are loads of things that would have made sense for Dominic's arc, but him being, like, changing the very fabric of the world and people's memories just doesn't track with any of the other things that he does. You know, I thought that the fact that the killer was this, you know, indiscernible person with a huge mask doing impossible things was a really interesting premise. And
Wait, does that mean bacon is a cannibal?
yeah, isn't that cannibalism? Auto cannibalism. Okay. Ashes to ashes, bacon to bacon. Man. What's next now? But I wanted to touch on something that I believe DJ Coyle was saying earlier, that a game of a middling story throughout is something that you can offer critiques on. It's because Chapter 2 is so brilliant. Chapter 2 is fucking inspired and felt great and had high moments and good writing and things like that. The downfall of that is such a hard slope, right? Oh, and then there's this fucking twat. It's such a roller coaster that you start engaging with the art at an emotional level, and then the game goes, actually, sorry for making you care and treat this like it matters. Just kidding. It's about superheroes and stupid cops. Yeah, Alnus, Chapter 2 is peak point and click. You know, it makes you feel so fucking smart, and it's so clever. You know, it uses the time looping puzzle solving, but in a way that's fresh and new. So. Yeti, that could have been the case. Also, this is a published game. So it could have been that Whitethorn were like, alright, we'll publish a game, here's a chunk of cash, and you have to finish it by this point. And the deadline was too steep, leading to those last few chapters being very, very rushed. There's an old rule in game development that if you're doing a linear story like this, that you make the ending first, because it'll shape everything else backwards from the title. Whether that's still good advice or not is another matter, but this was definitely a front-loaded game. And you can tell by the care and the comedy from the early ones. You know, the first time you try and kill the toy maker, and the bloke has a gun behind you and shoots you, so your time loops again. And the second time where he tries to pull his gun's missing. That was so funny. And it felt clever and fun to work those things out through. It's using multiple loops to get the knowledge. And then later on, it's a color matching puzzle, but and mandatory stealth sections. You know, I talked about this with Dave the Diver. This game brings you in on something special, and then goes to great lengths to pull you away from the thing you want to do. And Arandios, coming in, friend, coming in. So, sorry, I've talked a lot about this. What are your thoughts and feels on, like, the story structure and the mechanics of? Because we need to talk about the musical references, but we'll get to that in a sec. Because I'm doing that thing like I did with 24 Killers, where I'm just monologuing. Oh yeah, no, Chaunerus. Me and Little Fire have talked about that one a lot. But I want to... so Chaunerus, save that thought. I want to come back to it. It's just the character who has the monologue about breaking chains and not hurting people is Marilyn fucking Manson.
It's just the point of, like, it goes along with the thought of the musical references don't mean anything.
Yeah.
Because if it was a point of choosing musical references to push a story,
yeah,
a narrative, you would not pick that person to say that message.
Yes.
That's literally one of the worst people to pick to say that message.
Yes. I took real exception to the childhood bully being called Elton John.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
What do you mean?
What do you mean? You know, the musical references, aside from one joke about, what was it, the creepy kids club or what have you, that Duty pointed out, again, were all so paper thin. Yeah, what you see, Dom's probably not telling the truth. You know, like the coffee shop's called Depeche or something like that. But like, if we're supposed to, if the musical references are supposed to be a big core element of this, then they end up saying some really gross things. If the musical references are just like names picked out of a hat, then all right, fair enough. But oh yeah, Autism mentioning that Dom's whole ending spiel about, you know, selfishness and selflessness. You know, if you removed all of the memories that of bad stuff, everyone would be selfless. It's got to be. But the thing is, we're not given enough context, and we're not given a core of who Dom is to tell the difference between a lie and a truth. And that's one of those things that, like, it's intellectually, it's fun to talk about, like, oh, well, if someone really was lying to you, you wouldn't know. It would be out of character. But within the context of this, you know, I also want to point out what Chonorus was saying, that the Marilyn Manson character giving you a whole spiel about, you know, hurt people don't need to hurt people, which inspires Bruno to listen to the drug dealer whose family killed his best friend. Because at that point, we still don't know that Harry Ocean is a weird cop, or, you know, super spy cop. We still think Harry Ocean is the best friend that we spoke into reality. Like, we lied and created the bestest best friend we could ever have. And then, because we meddled in this whole deal, he was killed in front of us. Like, imagine the fucking guilt. I brought you into this world, and now I got you murdered in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like, you know, Bruno Gallagher, alright, why wasn't Lucas Brightside like Lucas Oasis or something like that? You know? There's a fucking bit there completely lost. For those who don't know, in the UK, Blur and Oasis were at this, like, constant rivalry in loggerheads. You know, it was probably just tabloid farming, to be honest, but, you know, that was part of the thing. You know, it wasn't Biggie Tupac, but it was a notable thing. So why wasn't the guy you're at odds with? I know. Little Fire said something really powerful yesterday, which is, it's like... Sorry, Guy just messaged me and went, Will, when are you streaming your Clubhouse meetup? Kind of want to watch that. It's now. Yeah. So Yeti says, I'm going to go the opposite direction and say, I don't think the characters have any meaning behind it. I think that we give depth to the meaning of the story, but it's not that the Marilyn Manson character was used because he's the only portraited character that didn't really have any narrative applied. True. I mean, that's the thing. The names don't mean anything. And it's really annoying. Because the references are enough that we can infer meaning, but they are nothing more than just a label on a thing, you know?
It's just a musical flex of your band knowledge.
Yeah.
It means nothing, so it serves no purpose in the game.
Yeah.
When you're trying to tell a story that means something, and you add details that don't fucking matter, and the player base is trying to piece those things together.
Yes.
It's a mess.
Because it's not a throwaway action game, it's a narrative puzzle game about, you know, reconstructing reality. There is, you know, the game is asking us to look at the details to work out the mystery. You know? And that's... that's where I kind of found the Bioshock Infinite thing. Not quite to the same extreme, but like, you know, you have to be careful with the references you make and how you say stuff, because you can accidentally end up saying stuff that's kind of a bit like, I'm sorry, what? Exactly. You've got to know about the associations between things. Otherwise, you could suddenly be using dog whistles, you know? And yeah, Simple Chaos says, the author had to choose every reference. And if they are saying that these choices I'm making don't matter, they're about the characters and name aesthetics, then what else don't they care about, right? And it doesn't feel good to know that, you know, what you were looking into and hoping would be something was nothing, was throwaway, was, you know, yeah. So yeah. And I don't think I made the reference, sorry. I think I got distracted by DMs and the ilk. But yeah, the thing that Little Fire said that was so powerful is that it feels like when someone looks at your band shirt and is like, oh, but you can't name 4 or 5 songs.
Yeah, it's just obnoxious. Now I just think, because like, you have to think, the form of art that you're putting out there is made by someone.
Yeah.
When someone is consuming that media, in your mind, you're wondering, what kind of person would make the game?
Yeah.
Why the references? What kind of human are you? So when you do something like that, I automatically assume you're just pretentious. Because it served no purpose other than, look at all these fucking bands I know.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So, like, if you're praying as Gallagher, why wasn't the Oasis bloke the childhood bully?
But there you go.
Why was it Elton John?
Exactly. Make it mean something.
Yeah.
You can't sit here and be like, you have to read into the story and piece things together and then add in nonsensical breadcrumb details that don't matter. Now you have ants in your house for no reason.
Yes.
Like unnecessary ants.
God, I hope I remember that. That's brilliant.
You better
That when you don't
don't take my
yeah.
my funny.
When you leave breadcrumbs that don't go anywhere, you get ants in your house. Because, like, alright, sorry, look at these 2 tossers. I've never met the blokes in Oasis. I can't speak to who they are. I have heard stories of them in their youth, you know, getting chucked out of pubs and starting fights. These look like the kind of guys who would punch down to make their school life a little bit better. This is Sir Elton John. This man went through the British state school system. And you want to tell me that he's a fucking bully? Yeah, no, sure, mate. Yeah, sure. Sure. Fucking sure.
Plot twist.
Anyway, fuck off. Here's Wonderwall.
You know what? You know what pisses me off? Side note, that has nothing to do with what you guys are talking about, except for Oasis. That album is fucking phenomenal, and the only song that people fucking talk about from that album is fucking Wonderwall.
Yeah, well, that's why they hate Wonderwall.
It's an okay song, but that whole album is non-stop, unskippable fucking songs.
Yeah.
The only song that anybody fucking cares about is Wonderwall.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming to my pleb talk.
No, that's actually why one of the brothers fucking hates it.
Good.
Because there's...
Fuck off.
Because he always has to, and that's why he's like, anyway, here's Wonderwall, because he knows he has to. So yeah. Sorry, jumping back in. Yeah, he said someone said it yesterday. I think someone's playlist was used to generate the names, and I want to give that narrative a deep dive and plot. But I don't think I can give the author that much credit. Yeah.
Yes, Dustin. Champagne Supernova.
Yeah.
Superior.
Champagne Supernova is a better song. And I had to suffer that stuff in the UK. Alice makes a very, very good point. In Silent Hill, the street names are horror author names.
Okay.
And as Alice is saying, if you get it, it's a neat detail. If you don't, you can move on. Mm-hmm. Yes. Sorry, we'll go back to the game rather than looking at Elton John's face. Like, that is a neat way of referencing elements, right? I mean, shit. There's a part of me that's thinking about the fucking Edgar Allan Poe.
Miss Elizabeth Overgard here made me watch a movie, a mystery-style detective movie that involved Edgar Allan Poe for no reason at all. It served no purpose.
It was bad. It's on Netflix. Watch it if you want to feel good about yourself.
No, don't make me watch it.
And to her over here, Watto and welcome. Yeah. Welcome from Games Club. We are into the paint of this. And you know what? You don't have to watch it, but it was a murder mystery where the hook is that Edgar Allan Poe is at West Point Military College and is brought on board to, help solve a mystery.
Stop that incessant clicking.
Simple chaos, heck and thank you. And it's bad. But the whole thing could have been done without Edgar Allan Poe as a character.
It still wouldn't have been an amazing movie, but it would have made more sense if you didn't have that huge, in-your-face, supposed to be important fact that means nothing.
Yes. Whereas, and I'll say as little as I can to avoid spoilers, because you haven't seen it, Fall of the House of Usher, you do not need to have read Poe to have the experience, but if you have, holy crap. No, it was not The Raven with John Cusack. Though now I feel like I gotta watch that. That sounds gloriously terrible. But it's just the thing of like... The term death of the author gets thrown around a lot. And... at least as I came to understand it before it was reintroduced into modern parlance, is that death of the author is that the author gets to create the work and then give it to us. But from that point, the author's not involved, right? The author is dead. We can only read the works that we are given. We can only learn what we can from that. And to the Cypher of Tia, Watto and welcome. Happy almost New Year. We're talking about references within art and recall. So the author can't be over our shoulder. Oh no.
Edgar, what's your favorite SNES JRPG? Quote the Raven, Secrets of Evermore.
1 million years dungeon! That was actually good. I can't hate that. Akari, thank you for the 200 bits. But what that means is that if you choose to put references in your works, you cannot be standing over someone's shoulder and being like, oh, actually, I meant this. The work eventually speaks for itself, and it may say things that you hadn't intended. Wish The Secret of Evermore got that remake treatment. God. I'm just going to ignore them both. Have a little run around. So yeah, so the musical references, we have no evidence to believe they are anything more than just names picked off names on a dartboard with arrows thrown in. It's really annoying because the character who gives the big monologue that really affects our character's motivations towards the end is based on Marilyn Manson, who's an arsehole and a shit guy. Did the author think that through? Well, I don't know, but he makes a reference to Marilyn Manson's earlier works that, I don't know. Like, are we looking too much into it by reading these things? I don't know, but we didn't write that. We didn't choose that.
I was going to say, that's the creator's choice.
Yeah.
If they made it such a forefront of the game that the people playing it are going to read into it. So if it doesn't matter, if you don't want people reading into it, don't choose that direction.
Yeah. And if there were no other references, so like if it was just the names and those names are never acknowledged as their musical references, like... so to her over here, I didn't actually get the chance to listen to the monthly podcast. I played through the first 4 chapters of the game because I wanted to finish it in one sitting and I didn't. And yesterday we played through the back half of this game, which I wish I'd never fucking done. I wish I'd played chapters 1, 2, and 3 and then gone, man, this game is great. So I guess to Tia and those of you who have just joined us, this was Recall. It initially starts off as a time looping puzzle game where by changing your memory of events, your character rewrites reality. And it ends in a, just kidding, it was a super team of super cop assassins who had their souls stolen by a giant spider. Also, Harry Ocean's a ghost. I was livid yesterday, and I'm not in the habit of attacking works. That's not how I be. If you want to sum up my feelings, that the first half of this game was so brilliant. What?
Nothing.
What did I do?
No, you didn't do it.
Oh.
I may have been swimming in the ocean and looked away for 2 seconds and then I got snapped on.
You got eaten by a
My
shark.
buddy.
Little Fire is playing Sons of the Forest on the telly behind me, and I'm glad I didn't see that. Now, her over here was adding the interview with the creator does open up a lot of why this is happening. And see, that's the thing is, creator's intent is an interesting discussion. And I was thinking about it, and I was thinking that, like, yes, it is interesting to know where they are coming from, but the work has to stand up on its own first.
That's what I was gonna say. If you have to watch interviews to figure out what the game is like, to figure out pieces of the game, that's a failing of the creator. In my eyes, personally, my opinion.
I mean, there are ways of doing it, but if you have to find out whether or not Marilyn Manson's inclusion in this game is because the creator doesn't know, or because the creator was making a point, then I've got to start to worry. Why was Elton John the bully? Oh, well, he just picked names out of a hat. Okay, but then why was there references to Marilyn Manson's career in dialogue choices? For 24 Killers, now sadly it got changed, probably because of legal threats. In 24 Killers, the Steam description came from Simon and Garfunkel, a Simon and Garfunkel lyric. Out in the Indian Ocean somewhere, there's a former army post. And that is the setting of 24 Killers. If you know that lyric, what a great fucking reference. And it feeds into the whole thing of how 24 Killers setting used to be a military post that has been forgotten. There is no conflict in that game. There's not even a combat system. But it's set on an old abandoned army base. Hell, some of the weird monsters on the island still pretend to be military so they can get supply drops of snacks. Multiple times you have to help clear up and things so that when the helicopter drop comes over, you get free stuff. So yeah. And I feel like deconstructing this, just to restate for those of you who joined in a little later, I feel like it's because the first 3 chapters are so brilliant is why the back half hits so bad. My feeling is that it's very much like the Highlander 2. So yeah. You know, and what it says to me is it says that the creator unfortunately stumbled upon, you know, some really good creative elements in the first half of the game. And there wasn't really anybody that person was working with to turn around and say like, hey, you know, you should focus on this. Nobody wants the Super Sentai My Hero Whackademia knockoff. Yeah, and that's the thing with one of the things we were also talking about was how with the implied themes, this chapter 3, you and the squad go back to your old school, which got burnt down. It's implied that it got burnt down. It's implied it got burnt down by a little girl. And at this point, it's starting to hint that the little girl might have been like super psychic or something. That like she might have She might be the ghost or responsible for the summoning of the ghost. She was the principal's daughter who was given to the villain diddler of who runs the cop shop in this world. So at some point she burns it all down, but it also doesn't explain why like the gym was super sealed up with the Happy Havoc themes and whatnot. It doesn't. But my point being is like, if at the end of this chapter, where we see that the character we're playing as, Bruno, has been bullied, if after this we then got the whole thing about like, you know, forgiving your younger self and coming to terms with, you know, your trauma and things, would have worked real good. But it doesn't come here. It comes after the cop shop bit, which doesn't it doesn't fit together at all. And mandatory stealth sections, which were not good. So yeah. You know what, Twizzlight? That's a very, very good point. Twizzlight was saying that, you know, as a nice big shorthand, if you put two characters in your work, you know, a David and a Goliath, even if you're not making biblical references, you are implying characteristics to those characters. Vskid said, I had assumed the girl was the ghost. Would have made more sense. Yes, I thought that was going to hit. And it did not. Oh, and to her over here. Oh, last night there was one bit where I was in cover and one of the robot guards turned round. And I got seen through that and had to redo a whole, like, color switching. I think I took my mouse and I think I slammed it down a couple times.
That was the moment where I checked on you.
Yep. So yeah, one of the things that can be very, very difficult, and I know you deal with this a lot in indie horror, is when people bring in themes that have not been introduced or earned. So we have a meme of like indie horror being, oh, oops, bad dad. Like
Bad dad trope, yeah.
the bad dad trope. So like you'll be playing a horror game that does not tell or say anything about its narrative or its setting, and then suddenly turns out it was an abusive father that beat everybody and then killed them. And you're like, cool, where did this come from? You've done nothing to earn this. Thanks for just throwing this in. But like this area, a weird lack of music as well. This area works surprisingly well because like you're as Bruno, you're exploring your old school and you see elements of like him getting bullied and things like that. But then later on, when you actually go back and explore his past history, it's after the point where the guy, the best friend that you willed into existence has been killed. And I couldn't see the connection between the past trauma and stuff like that. There were so many good puzzles in this chapter as well. Like, yeah.
I'll let you finish, because I have a point.
No, go for it.
Question. It goes along with the thing of like, why introduce something to the story that ends up not mattering?
Yes.
When it comes to the little girl, it's a very dark, deep topic that is going to turn off a lot of people to your game.
Yes.
And it's never fleshed out, it's never fixed, it's never solved, it's never brought up again.
No.
So why bring up such a hot, like, deep topic that is going to upset people to then do nothing with it?
Yes.
Why'd you do that?
Because I'm not saying that games can't deal with heavy topics. You know, we're dealing with an abused, molested child who may or may not have super psychic powers.
It goes right into the concept of every medium of art that someone puts out is connected to the creator. Why did you put that in there?
Yeah.
For what reason?
Now, the only thing that I can think of is that the creator was, you know, using it in a throwaway manner.
But that's not a throwaway topic.
Exactly.
That's gross.
Nobody wants to order that particular nothing burger, so why put it on the menu? Yeah, and if you're not going to follow it through, because like, that's what I was saying is like, I thought we were moving towards a narrative where Dominic is like a Punisher type. You know, he trained his whole life to be a police officer because he looked up to this guy, and he finds out that the guy he's looked up to, this world's version of All Might, is a fucking nonce. And he beats him to death with his bare fists. Like, you know what? I actually thought that was very, very clever, because in the marketing assets, I think it's actually one of the screenshots on the store page. Oh, it's not a store page, but it is in the trailer. You get to see the thing of Dominic Javier at the beginning. If he's there in his cop outfit covered in blood, and you're like, oh, well, this is going to be a story where the cops, you know, this cop ends up being evil and bad. And it's like, no, he did the thing. And Shaunerus, I mean, yeah. It was also interesting because, like, you can understand when experiencing art, you can understand when the author has either taken the time to understand a topic or has personally experienced it, right? The creator of this, there we go. Yeah, that shot of Javier where you're like, oh man, the cops are going to be the villain. Nah, this is right after he's beaten a pedo to death with his bare hands. This is him doing a good thing. But jumping back. The elements about Bruno being bullied as a child were very hard to deal with because they were so honest. They were so real. I think the creator was one of those people who experienced that kind of bullying as a kid. You know, I talked a lot about El Paso Elsewhere. El Paso Elsewhere is an incredible commentary on dysfunctional, toxic relationships and addiction. And I had to pause that game several times because, like, the writing in El Paso Elsewhere actually painted those things incredibly accurately to the point where I had to, like, stop and, like, fucking go stare at myself in the mirror. You know, the way in which Strange Scaffold paints their lead character is, you know, having simultaneously cursing and celebrating the reason to fall off the wagon wholesale is handled so much better than, you know, conversations about addiction. And the relationship between the main character and the evil vampire, there's a monologue in El Paso Elsewhere where he talks about how she told him to sit, and he stayed there for 3 days. She didn't cast a vampire spell on him. She didn't do anything, like, nefarious. He was so afraid of her that when she said, don't move, he didn't. And she came back 3 days later, and he's, you know, peed himself several times, dehydrated and things like that. And then obviously the love bomb comes and, you know, things like that. But, you know, holy shit. When dealing with something like sexual assault, if you do not have the chops to write about it, just fucking don't.
It's such a real everyday topic.
Yeah.
That even as a story narrative point, you have to be very careful.
Yeah.
And you need to have warnings. You absolutely have to have warnings about stuff like that.
Yeah.
You absolutely do.
That was something that Hoa over here was saying, is you need a content warning for that.
You have to. Like, I get like, well, I don't want to spoil anything. There are varying levels of trigger points for everyone. Sometimes something like that being even whispered could send someone into a spiral of, like, insane proportion. Not insane in terms of mental health, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Huge proportions. Like, you could really harm someone in their everyday life by just not disclosing something like that. Like,
yeah,
it's a big deal.
And to then have that plot point not go anywhere,
yeah.
That infuriates me, because that's the thing, is like, this clip here is, he has snapped. Like, You know, he gets to meet the little girl on his first day, and she shit talks him, and it's kind of implied that she's got some psychic powers stuff. But then again, like the Happy Havoc squad just being painted as like, you know, good guy hero mode. You know, Alan says like you're not mouth washing. You have to step. Yeah, if you're going to deal with those kinds of themes, you have to be able to do it with mouth washing tier handling, or close the fucking loop on that one. You know, because here's the other thing. That's never handled. So we'd have to solve the puzzle, but that door right there, we know that has been installed by the cops. They've installed the bars, they installed the security systems, they have locked this whole place down even after it was burnt down. And it's implied that the girl who was abused was the one who burnt this place the fuck down, right? And her dad was the headmaster. And that, again, that's never taken anywhere. The reason why this bit doesn't fall as hard as like the rest of the title is that it does still adhere to the core premise of like reworking memories. Of reworking memories of the past to improve things. Like with the final battle being this, like, you know, Mr. New Order wants to rechange the world maybe, and not him being like, no, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna fucking end these guys who did awful things before they have a chance, you know? Whereas your character, who could have stopped all of that, decides not to because Mr. McDrug Dealer with the family that murdered your best mate goes, oh, I guess, you know, them's the eggs. Them's how they breaks. And look, I know it probably seems like I'm labouring a lot of points here. This is very quiet, so I'm going to go back to chapter 1. I know it seems like I'm labouring a lot of points here, but it's just... This comes so close to greatness. You know, and again, this is the opening. You know, you're here, and this, like, kind of looks like Mick Jagger-y, queer-coded individual. Well, that was something that somebody asked, is that they weren't sure if this character was,
Was it Steven Tyler?
maybe Steven Tyler?
It feels more like Steven Tyler.
Kind of like a hair metal amalgamation. But this person is described as the toy maker, and he's the great drug dealer that you've broken into.
I guess this is where it comes to, like, maybe reading too much into it. But when you know the real life story behind these artists,
Yeah.
and different key points that are in the game, you start to wonder, is the creator just absolutely oblivious? Or did you pick these people on purpose? Because a lot of these artists have the same history.
Yes.
Like, and it's not good.
So, to the Cipher of Tyr, this is Recall. And initially, I'll show you. Just to make believe. We'll skip through a bit of this. The initial crux of this game is that you change the narrative. You change the narrative to rework the present. So in the beginning, you're playing as this guy, Javier, who turns out to actually be a cool assassin. And he's explaining to the toy maker, the nefarious underground drug dealer, how he broke in. And so you can say, nobody was watching the door, or the guard was blue, the guard was green. And as you make these choices, it completely changes the... it changes the events and how they happened. So it's like it's not quite time looping, it's not quite Life is Strange, it's its own, like, reality warping. Yeah. So yeah, I've only had to do BAFTA this year. I was doing Indie Cup stuff, but they started doing like Web3 awards, and I had to be like, nah, sorry, I'm out. Not like I've had the free time to be a judge on stuff, but yeah. In chapter 2, there is this brilliant bit where... Okay. But yeah, so... This is the early stuff where it is still really good. So here, you're like... I remember I found something behind the cargo box. What was it? A gun or a rock? So then, the guard at the door no longer has a gun. And it's changed what's happening here. So the idea is we're basically trying to set it up so we can kill this guy and get on out. In chapter 2, there is a bit where you're talking about going to like the rich kids party. And what's fucking cool about it is you go, oh, actually I was there with my friend, my best friend. And a best friend blinks into existence. Like, and this person has known you your whole life and knows all your friends and they know him. You created not just a person, but a person with a whole history. And that was the bit where I was like, this is gonna slap. And then the back half of the game spends excruciating detail unraveling and undermining all those great moments. And so, as Moose said at the very beginning of this game is worthy of discussion. Because it gets so close. It's like brilliant, 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 brilliant. And then Tony Hawk skateboards down into, come on. And so yeah, the game reacts of like, where's your gun? I don't know. I lost it. A second ago, you told me this boy had it when you guys captured him. I know I said that, but all of a sudden, I realized that actually, it never happened. So like, the sponginess of the reality of this is really cool. You know. Oh. So yeah. This has been Recall. Hang on, before I end up getting lost in the pain too much. So yeah. I guess that's the thing, is like trying to understand how much of this was intentional, how much wasn't, how much of it was lost, how much wasn't. I think that there is a better, shorter game out of this. Or perhaps like a focus just on the puzzle elements and the time looping elements. Because I was thinking about it, and I don't hate this as much as the Forest Cathedral. And I really hate the Forest Cathedral. Which is also a Whitethorn published title, so... I'm just saying, there's no place him. But like... Again, I don't want to just say death of the author. But it's like, if you are reliant on... If you're reliant on creator interviews as to find out whether or not this is some dodgy shit. Yeah. Well, Alnus, I love Call of Juarez Gunslinger. I love that because you're playing the story of an unreliable narrator. In this, the narrator is the authority and there is nothing else. And that's so wild. I mean, I'm trying to think of any other games that have done the same kind of thing, and Bastion comes to mind. But then the narrator reacts to what you're doing. For those of you who didn't play it, by the way, so Call of Juarez Gunslinger. Let me bring that one up. Here we go. Oh shit, it's only $3. Friends, if you've got time for a shooty gun bang, I really recommend this.
Legends. I've buried a few.
So, it's a first-person shooter, but you are playing the story that an old man is telling in a bar. So it's like, here's the time that I went to a shootout and fought alongside Billy the Kid. It has some great moments where he's like, oh, and I was up in the mountains and I was attacked by, well, he says Injuns. But, you know, I was attacked by the natives. And then someone goes, no, you weren't. I know that country. And it's like, oh, no, it wasn't them. It was bandits.
Say that this is the land of the free,
And the map shifts and changes, and suddenly it's an attack by
where
bandits.
freedom is whatever a man
In
chooses
this,
to be.
you're playing the story.
So is the law. When justice is bought and paid for, enforced by the man with the quickest draw, who's to say what freedom or even justice means?
I don't know.
John Wesley.
Yeah, you can do your talking. Simple Chaos says, this is going to bother me if I didn't dig into it, but Chester Make Believe may be a reference to a bubblegum pop band called Chester, known for 2 songs, Start a Dream and Make My Life a Little Brighter. The only reason I think of this is maybe where the dev went to, just because it's a passing resemblance to one of its members. Yeah, and this is the annoying thing, because Simple Chaos, if we take that into consideration and go, oh, okay, that's a cool, like, you know, the selection of that character for that part of the game meant something, then choosing Marilyn Manson, and the Marilyn Manson stand-in as the character who talks about hurt people don't have to hurt people, then you have to be like, what's your opinion on Marilyn Manson, Mr. the Creator? What do you think of him? I don't want to have that conversation. You know. Oh, yes, Stanley Parable's another great one. But in those games, the world reacts to your choices. The implication in Recall is that you reshape the game based on your choices. You know, what was and has always been is at your discussion. But yeah, if you want a really good shooty gun bang that will have you thinking about it for years, Call of Juarez Gunslinger is, yeah, $3 on Steam right now. And what's very, very good about it is just as the game progresses and your narrator gets more and more drunk, the story becomes more unhinged. And at the end, you know, you're in a graveyard fighting the ghosts of great, you know, fictional characters of the Old West. And then what really is supposed to be happening unfurls. Like, it earns all that shit. You know? Recall was doing it from a point and click, but you get to change the logic standpoint that worked so good. You know, I felt like the smartest guy alive when in the murder mystery part, you know, when you change where you hear the gunshot coming from and the killer firing 3 shots coming out to then shoot you in the face, but he's fired every bullet because you put him in the room with the gun with only 3 bullets, and you're like, ah! You feel so fucking good. And the game never returns to that high, and it never delivers any more on its premise. Yay, go get some sleep. Let me put on some tunes, because you know we've been at Recall discussion for 2 hours, and if there's anything that I've missed, I'd love to hear about your thoughts from it. You know, like I think we've covered pretty much everything. The Harry Ocean thing was definitely the bit that broke my heart yesterday. Because Harry Ocean was one of the best things this game did, and then it undermined that directly. The sprite work is lovely, yep. The move and bounce worked really, really well. I will say, though, that the idea that the glitching happened when you altered time... that by the back half, by the back half of the game, everything is glitching, and therefore the effect makes no sense. Oh no, I'm using the Face Miner soundtrack for our little banter, because that's my emotional support goodness. It was needed. You know. It is interesting to read other people's deconstructions of this game, because it does seem to be the back half and front half of this game are at war with each other, and I think it's that thing of, if you liked the first half of this game enough to ignore the back half, is where people will go, all right, it's worth it. But it's also interesting that when you talk to people who didn't finish it, they had a very, very different experience. I don't know. 24 Killers was such an interesting opening gambit for the game club, because it... that was a game that you could take a lot away from it, but there was no way anyone was going to do the full 24 playthroughs. No way. In a month? We worked it out, and like, even if I got each run down to 3 hours, that would still have taken an additional, so 3 hours, 2 runs of stream at 6 hours a pop. That would have taken me an additional 10 to 12 streams to finish 24 Killers. Now, Orchini says, I stand by the glitching in the later parts means you fully left reality. Yes. The problem being is, at that point, the story has lost track of where the story is. So how am I, the user, supposed to know if I'm on or off track? Okay, and this is nitpicky, but it did annoy me that for the last chapter, we play as a femme-presenting character, and every bloke hits on us in a different, creepy way. Couldn't there have just been couldn't there have been some other kind of interaction? You know? And what was it somebody said? That Dakota, the boxing chick who's just obsessed with getting strong and boxing, served no purpose in the entire game and was literally just probably the dev's thinly veiled fetish. Yeah, and Simple Chaos, jumping back, if this game had just stayed a time-hopping murder mystery, it was on a path for greatness. And even if the story had added those additional, even if the game had added additional mechanics to that, the story undermined itself and killed itself. Scooby-Doo ass ending fucking drove me. I've been getting slightly more angry about the ending the more I think about it. Oh yes, the thinly veiled crush was, to say it politely, there was no veil. So you're saying the game was the murderer all along? By Jove, I've solved it! It was a murder mystery, and I know who killed it. It's Self. Alright, friends. So yeah, to end on a positive note, this is 50% of what could possibly have been like an absolute fucking banger of a title. The sprite art was gorgeous, and it really did use the whole like GBA post-Pokemon style to do a lot with a little. And the characterization, at least in the early stuff, was a lot of fun. Yes, Fred. Fred was just saying that sometimes good design, particularly good narrative design, is knowing when to downscope, so you don't include a bunch of content that waters it down. Dude, I have mentioned the Highlander 2 draw so much in the last 24 hours. You don't even know. Marketeer Fred in chat is the one who introduced me to the term. I'm just, sorry friends, I don't like wailing on games. Like, a game really has to do something bad for me to, you know, crack out the knuckles. Though I will say my words yesterday were not kind. They were not positive. God, you know what, Simple Chaos? It does have that same kind of... God, it does have that Benoit Blanc vibe. The story as it's told by the rich and the powerful, and then Benoit Blanc actually picking apart and showing us the truth of it. Though don't say anymore, because Little Fire hasn't seen Glass Onion.
I did watch the newer one.
Yeah, and it was really good. Yeah, Jamami, that's the thing. The fall was so far. This game will be significantly improved by Daniel Craig. It's just dumb. Yeah. Well, and Fred, if you missed the start of it, basically, the first half of this game is brilliant. And if you put the second half of this game in the Highlander 2 draw, it's brilliant. If I just stopped playing at the end of Chapter 3 and hadn't come back to it, we would be having a completely different conversation. I made the mistake of finishing this game.
Right, but then you had to finish it.
Yeah.
If you had the stream where you're building up this game and then other people go to play it, now your credibility is...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then everyone would be coming back like, Will, do you know how much dog shit the last back half was? They'd be like, wait, what? Like, if the first half of this game is Glass Onion, the back half of this game is that one skit from Robot Chicken where everyone just punches themselves in the dick. I'm sorry, I know I'm being mean, but... So yeah. Also, fuck you for making me go to the worst part of this game and then having the main character go, actually, and undo everything that we just did until that point because he doesn't believe in the mission anymore. He was already working for the drug dealer whose family killed his best mate. But now you're like, actually, fucking knobend. The worst part of this game, the part that had me wanting to yeet the fucking pad. And then he's just like, actually... Sorry, if you missed it, basically the final mission is you go into the villain's mum's story with the intention of breaking up her and the villain's dad so that he never exists. Just delete him from reality. which you do. But then this old lady on her deathbed then passes away because it was the memory of her love that was keeping her alive, which is now gone. Yeah, you Marty McFly the villain, but because the old lady passes away due to her lack of love, Bruno then decides, actually, I'm going to bring the villain back. And he just decides, he changes history so that when he walks in the room, he goes, sorry, wrong room. But the thing is, you didn't just convince her not to marry this guy. You had to do minimum 1, maximum 3 stealth puzzle sections that did not use the time looping puzzle, but used colored door like switches puzzles. But also because your character possesses other people, you have to hop between them and move them around. And the movement and distance of it is also a puzzle unto itself. I was livid. I was livid. So yeah, we Back to the Future, you know, Dom the villain. And it was just the thing that, like, our character Bruno was okay in fucking deleting a person from existence. Who I might add is not the person who killed his best friend. The person who killed his best friend is killed off screen in an offhand comment, like, oh, don't worry about it. And Bruno's like, cool, brilliant, thank you for handling my revenge with no proof. So mad! Sorry, this was meant to be the point where I said nice things about the game, and I've just gone back to my rage. And it's only bad because the first half of the game is so good! Okay, I'm good. I'm calm. It's definitely getting to wine o'clock, I'll tell you that much. Oh, that wasn't me asking for wine, that was just me saying, like, I'm going to get some. Yeah, they spent so much time humanizing Dom, and then we don't even murder him, we delete him. Like, I understand the difference between the two is a philosophical one, but like, you know, if we went in there, as we did, and just electrocuted Dom and killed him, that's one thing. The other was, he never existed in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, Simple Chaos, why do special agents need a special thing to body jack? Why is it the guy with fire for arms who can destroy anything doesn't just go, oh, and he won't destroy the robots because he's a pacifist? No, he's the fucking asshole. I'd even play as the guy with the mask and the zippity doodah powers. Because I think everybody watching sensed that if I had to do one more run through of that, I was ready to start throwing shit. Look, sometimes we find ourselves at odds. Like, as a creator and supporter of, you know, video games, I understand the challenges and the stresses of creating a game, especially on a budget, especially on a, you know, some drastic time constraints. And the idea of putting in those mechanics towards the end to try and like add some more maneuvers or some more mechanics, like, okay. But like, ultimately, the rest of this story has been deeply personal, about interpersonal connections, about friendships, about how we treat each other and how we treat ourselves. So yeah, as Fred's saying, Fred was saying one of his pet peeves is whenever a piece of media has a body stealing mechanic, because having someone puppet your body, like Fred says, would be deeply traumatic. You'd basically just be given instant sleep paralysis, and there's nothing you could do. You know? Shout out to fucking Supernatural for kind of hammering home how being possessed would be the kind of trauma you would never leave you. But in this, it's just used like a, oh, there we go. Yeah, Fred, it's worse than sleep paralysis, and it is inflicted upon you. Every ounce of your agency is taken away. And in this, it's just treated as like a throwaway mechanic, which again is fine, except for we've had this whole thing with Bruno about how, you know, childhood bullying made him angry and lonely. You know, it's already looking at the emotional impact of childhood trauma stuff, but don't even worry about it. Actually, Fred, one thing I will say, no one appreciates how in the X-Men movies, how big a flex it is when Professor X makes Wolverine stub out his cigar on his arm. Like, it's done as a throwaway thing, but that is Xavier's big, I'll fucking break you. Oh, you're cool and you can't be killed and you have claws? You don't mean shit to me. I can destroy you. Okay, that is a great moment though, but I'm not as well versed in the comics as yourself. Okay, so is there anything else about Recall you all would like to talk about before we either move on to another thing, or, I mean, how are you feeling? I did the thing again. Anyway, we are going to be bringing the game club proportion of tonight's stream to a close. Whatever happens after this, we're still working out, but please don't go anywhere. If you're new here from the game club, hello. I actually talk about games like this all the time while I'm playing them, or other games and the industry behind them. Yeah. Like, friends, you all have been having to hear about this just for the last couple hours. Poor little Fire.
There's no company. They don't have anything.
Yeah, actually, you knew what this was. You signed up. But I have been talking about Recall a lot. And I still feel annoyed at myself, because at one point I compared it to the existentialism of Soma, and like what it is to exist in reality. And it just comes back to, there needs to be a better turn of phrase for it, that, because I always think of it is better to be thought of as an idiot and remain silent than to speak and remove all doubt. It is better people impart genius upon your works than you over-explain yourself into idiocracy. I do agree with Fred that between Aunt May and Squirrel Girl, there is nothing that cannot be defeated. When are we getting more into the Spider-Verse? So, Alice, I mean, leaving them wanting more is always a good thing, but it's just, I don't know. Ozine says not every question needs an answer. Some things are best left to the imagination. Yes. We are the architects of our own. We are the architects of our own rules. The laws of the universes that we create. The power systems we put in place. The structure of the structure of the narrative to the fabric of it all is up to us. And while we are omnipotent gods of our own worlds, we must also adhere to our own rhymes and reasons lest it all fall apart. You know what I think about with stuff like this? I think about Pizza Game a lot. Pizza Game is a shitpost come to life. If you haven't seen it, it's a visual novel with misspellings and chaos and nonsense. It's voiced. You are a person that works in a pizza place, but not really. Yeah, over 180,000 words full of typos. Now, Pizza Game is very, very funny for about 20 minutes because nothing matters. You have all of its chaos and all of its jokes are completely at the whims of whatever nonsense comes forward, and none of the impact of the jokes pertains from scene to scene. It's just pure random. And I recommend playing Pizza Game because it is fascinating. But ultimately, it has no... Ultimately, it does not adhere to any of its own rules. It doesn't adhere to any of its own jokes. It's very lol squiggly face. But its lack of consequences, lack of permanence, means that the jokes eventually are just kind of, nah, you know. I talked about it yesterday, and one of my favorite dick jokes of all time is from Gintama. And it's the main character's Wang gets replaced with a screwdriver. And then, after a 2-episode arc of trying to find out what happened, they come across the ultimate villainous machine, and it just so happens to need a very specific screwdriver. I'm obviously doing the joke disjustice, but it is a setup and it is a payoff. Pizza Game is all setup. With Recall, there's so much setup that's then just ignored. And I think that's where that back half kind of feels bad. If it was never explained, it's never undermined. But I think I'm repeating myself now. Okay. So yeah, friends, is there anything from Recall I haven't talked about, or I haven't brought up that needs a discussing? Bless you. And you know what's weird? Sorry, just going back to Game Club stuff. I still think about 24 Killers, and I think about how I wonder what that final mystery is. In this, I just think about, like, how it could have been better. Like, this game will stay with me, but not for good reasons. Hey, to the Cypher Tia, have a lovely rest of your evening. And friendos, if you're not following, so Tia is a fellow games industry survivor, predominantly a writer by trade, if I remember correctly, if I haven't completely killed my brain with gin, and is absolutely deserving of a follow, friend. So please, please, please. No, I mean, sorry, that came across very, follow my friend. No, seriously, please give him a follow, you won't regret it. Yeah, Ozzy, I think you're right. But I want to make sure that everybody else gets a chance to talk about this as well. And it's not just the Will going blip, 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 show. You know, I'm going to be thinking about what you said about how it really did feel like the name 5 songs of band knowledge.
Yeah. Which...
Stop that incessant clicking.
Being who I am, and I start putting puzzle pieces together. Their name on Steam, if you look at the developer listed,
Yes.
is literally like what? How old are you?
It's Mightian69.
How old are you?
And whichever of you Spooky Mother Hubbards gifted the Cypher of Tia a sub, that's really cool of you. Thank you. So yeah, so like I'm having a look at their That's weird. Sorry, it wasn't listed. So the game they did before that, before this, was Evans Remains, which was kind of like a puzzle platformer title. Hang on, let me just show you all this one. So this was the same creator who did Evans Remains, which is wild. No, I nearly did. Like, it was doing the rounds, but it came up against, like, I think some Rain World content or something. I have a copy of it. Kind of fascinating. And last title they did was Doggos, a global game jam title. So this is their YouTube. And it's just Evans Remains and then the trailer for Recall. Kind of fascinating. Yeah, it's always a bad sign when I go, huh. Yeah. Okay, friends. I'm desperate for the loo. So, I'm gonna nip to the loo. If you've got any last thoughts about, Recall, now is the time to bring them up. If there's anything I haven't talked about, if there's anything I haven't covered, and then we'll do our thank yous, and then we'll see where the rest of the night's going to take us. The stream will continue in some way, shape, capacity, or form. We'll work on that in just a sec. Okay. Hello, hello, hello. Right. I have celebratory Game Club Shochu. I didn't see any additional points towards this that we needed to bring on up. So, nerd. Have another one to the sticky note. I'm going to. I'm gonna.
Okay.
We were just talking about Lorne's Law, which I really, really enjoyed, and there's DLC for it, and I really want the yeah. Woo! Doing that.
He's really proud of that.
I am so proud of that. Unnaturally so. So yeah, last call for opinions on Recall. All right. We did it. Cheers. Ooh. Oh. DJ Crosser's question, can you not invent Harry? No. To solve that puzzle, you need a friend.
2026 from time wasted to Thigh Master. Dustin, what?
I was pretty sure we didn't mute the... I mean, I'm sure we muted the microphone.
I mean, it was
Oh, from the squats! Oh, that... Yeah.
Right.
Oh, okay. So as there's nothing else to be adding, I mean, I'm going to be rolling back into my current obsession, which is Sons of the Forest. So we're going to be splatting mutants and making jerky and trying not to get my food stolen by bloody
What's crazy
eagles.
is that hasn't happened to me a single fucking time, and I have a full rack just out in the open on a cliff. A whole
For free.
a drying rack. God.
To Jenny the usual. What? Oh, and welcome. You're just in time for the end of our natter and whatnot. Forever Skies is another one I'm scared of. Hey, Jay, absolutely. To those of you who've just joined us, we are finishing up, we've kind of finished, our discussion about Recall, this game here, as part of the Game Club, and it's a good point for me to do my Game Club pitch. If we haven't met, I'm Will. I worked in video games for a million years and I stream for a living. I am joined by the indomitable and the unstoppable Little Fire. I guess just to say, so like the Game Club, I am a Game Club partner. I have been really enjoying these discussions, and I do not regret playing Recall because the banter we've had around it has been really good. If you would like to join the Game Club, it's either $10 a month or $5 if you use my little code, and it's a Book of the Month club, but for a video game. You have to sign up before the month, so if you sign up now, you'll be in for January. We have no idea what the game's going to be for January. We don't get told, and I kind of love that. The first game was 24 Killers. This was Recall. Who knows what's coming next? I don't know if you want to keep it at the moment, but Attain 69 is a new game in the pipes called Mindbringers. Do you have a link for it? Because I couldn't find one. Oh, they're going to be happy. Mindbringers. Because the thing is, they've not set up... Okay. Oh. It does not look. So it is self-published. And it's the only thing listed. Basically, this individual hasn't listed themselves as a developer on Steam. And the way it works is if you click developer, you comes here. But if on recall you
I
click
know,
it,
I was trying to do that
it
yesterday.
takes you to Whitethorn.
Exactly.
So yeah, they need to set themselves up as a developer. Oh. Bear with me just a second. I need to say something off mic. Thank you for letting me say that. So, Phyllis, I'm aware of Green Hell. I was waiting for that one to finish its narrative. But Green Hell does have... There's capybaras in it, and bad things can happen to them.
I will say,
Yeah.
as someone who's played it when it was not anywhere near complete, like at very beginning launch, it is not... It's going to require you to actually pay attention.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to actually have to manage your psychological state, your hunger, your warmth, your whatever, it might not be the game for you, because it's not like it's not entirely the same, but it is good. It is good.
Okay. Oh, and just in case Jay the Usual has left us lurking, death, however, is forbidden. Sorry, we've all got to survive to 2026. But I will look after your lovely lot. Thank you for the raid, and I hope you're doing good. The other thing is Orzine's been playing. What is it? The airship one.
The River's Eyes.
Yeah, that scares me because I will fucking consume that. We haven't fully decided. Yeah.
I haven't played that in a long time because I think it was before they added multiplayer, because I got grouchy because their timeline was they were going to release multiplayer and then finish out the story, and then they switched it up. I'm like, no, actually, we're going to do the story and then multiplayer. And I was like, well, I no longer care. You've upset me.
Yeah.
Now I'm mad.
For Green Hell, I was just waiting for the story conclusion. So, like, because with Subnautica and stuff, like, I'm glad I waited until it was story done.
Yeah.
That's actually one of the reasons why I've not gone back to The Last Caretaker. Because The Last Caretaker, it looks fucking brilliant. But I want it to be story done. Because if I'm going to brave underwater nightmare sections, like, I don't want to have to restart that playthrough again. Little Fire is at some point going to do a stream of The Planet Crafter.
Which is another game I played when it was, newer, didn't have much to it. So I'm excited to see what the updates have been.
Oh, and Aeon, what and welcome. We just kind of finished up the game club parts. Actually, let me move it off of... I'm going to move it on to Sons of the Forest, because that's what we're up to tonight. Because, like, I love Project Silverfish, but I have to ration it. Because Sons of the Forest is done, right?
Yeah.
We can just play it. Project Silverfish is not done. And if I end up binging it hard and then never wanting to play it again, I will weep. I will weep tears. On piss boiling scale of teacup to typhoon, how did it go? I hope I sung the praises of the first half of the game as much as I admonished where the story went and how it concluded. Because, like, I don't want that guy to stop making games.
No, but
the critique is important.
it is important. And if you're not, when it comes to anything that you're going to put anywhere, whether it's, posts and art on a platform or video game art, but you know what I mean? Like paintings or your drawings or whatever, or a game that you're posting somewhere, you have to be able to take criticism. If you cannot handle criticism, I don't even know why you're online.
Very true. And something that sprung into my mind, sorry to bring real world stuff into this, but when, we'll just call them fascist rallies, will pick music that they'll use because they just think it sounds good. Like Rage Against the Machine and things like that, It reminds me of that because, like, picking a name just because it seems good, that's like, I said this yesterday. I'm sipping this one. I didn't like knock it back.
That's too late, you already drank it.
No, there's still.
Oh, it's too late.
mostly spit. Promise?
Thank you.
Cheers all. I'm just sipping it. But yesterday while I was talking about it, I was saying that, like, as a kid, when coming up with character names for stories, I used to pick names from the credits of some of my favorite games. And they would predominantly be Japanese names. I would get them the wrong way round. and broken
With tears
and
if burning out on Sons of the Forest, expect the Kelvin. He's a numpty.
I'm keeping
A
Kelvin
helpful one
alive,
at times, but still a numpty.
I'm keeping Kelvin alive.
Oh, I'd like to point out,
Yeah.
if you're looking for a game like the Sons of the Forest without it being as creepy, Green Hell is 90% off. It's $2.49 right now.
Oh, nice. I should already have Green Hell.
You should, yes. So it would be the
Yeah.
time to pick it up.
Because one of the things that Littlefire pointed out is Sons of the Forest is not as scary if you have the audio off. The audio design of Sons of the Forest is fucking spectacular.
Their next game is like a satisfactory base building.
Oh, what's the name of it?
Multiplayer.
Star Rupture.
Yeah, it looks neat.
I think it's crossed my feed. Like, sign me up.
That's right.
Green Hell, hell is other Peapods. That's good. But yeah, Green Hell asks you to manage a lot more of your personal and physical health.
It's heavy on the managing your psychological state.
Yes. But the hell of Green Hell is just this idea that the jungle is so...
But it's good.
Yes.
It's so good.
The reason I was hesitant is that I didn't want to have to be in a game which would make me eat a capybara.
There's other things you could eat.
The capybaras are friends only run. Star Ropes looks interesting, adds environmental cycles. Finding out the satisfactory that the nodes have infinite amounts of resource is kind of... Oh. I have to be careful with some of these games because I fucking love them and I will become obsessed.
Those are games that if I didn't have to leave my home, I would absolutely lose weeks of my life.
Yeah. So Sons of the Forest is sitting perfectly in that little like trifecta of games that I'm obsessed with right now. The only one it doesn't hit is Arena Breakout, but the new season doesn't start until January 1st. Which weirdly coincides with my chosen day off.
That's weird.
That's so strange.
That you chose that day of all days.
So weird.
Take a day off. Oh.
That's so wild. I am going to take the second off, but I think that day would be like getting everything in line and, you know, there's this... Oh, DJ Coil, I'm so sorry, friend.
Sorry.
I'm like... Surviving this year has been no small feat, and the fact that you are here listening to this is cause for celebration.
Or maybe a wellness check. I don't know. Whatever. It depends on how you perceive it.
An excellent point. God, I have so many exports to do. I just realized I haven't checked any of the exports from earlier.